All right, this is Jeff Mackey live. I am Spencer Israel. That's Jeff Mackey, the other guy. Him.
There's Jeff
Yeah,
Macke. Hey,
there he
hey,
is.
look at
What's up?
me. Look at me. I'm living the dream, man. I'm portfolio stocks. My stocks are up. That's a nice thing. It's a
Yeah.
happy little Wednesday.
All right, so we're coming off, I guess, like one of your best weeks in a long time. So let's talk about that. This is a chart of the Mackey portfolio, and you can see it went the slope, as they would say in like geometry class, the slope changed dramatically last week. It got way
Yes,
steeper. What happened?
we hockey sticks gloriously, Spencer. Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of euphoria surrounding your vacation. We were happy to
Oh,
see you
right.
take some time off, and that's always going to be a nice catalyst for spending. Now, the denim rally. There's a reason that we obsess over crap like denim. And I explained this to Mrs. Mackey as well, so you folks at home who are just hearing. But it's not just because we're weird about denim; it's because there's ways to make money on it. American Eagle reported numbers that, I mean, honestly, I could have written the release myself, except it wouldn't have been as fabulous. They really over delivered, and the stock responded like a champion. We'll get into its continuing championness, but that it's nice when a theme comes together. And man, company after company, they just kept talking about them. They were talking my book, and when that happens, man, it's the hoop looks like it's the size of Pacific Ocean. They're just hoisting up shots.
I was telling you the other day in a call that I'm so behind the times that I didn't even realize that like denim was out, but now denim's back in, so I'm sitting pretty again. So it's come
Totally,
full circle without me.
completely. Which is every grandma on earth has told someone never throw away your clothes, and what they're talking about are jeans. They're talking specifically about blue jeans. My mom has some super fly old blue jeans in pictures from like the 70s that would look amazing today. They're pretty much perfect. Never throw away your blue jeans, Spencer. That's your takeaway.
Lesson learned. Okay, so and we'll get to the American Eagle thing in a little bit, but and that's what drove the performance of your portfolio. But it's not just what you own; it's really a lot of stocks uh, in your coverage area. This is the Mackie Consumer Average, the Mackie 30, if you will. It's the new and improved. It's the Mackie version of the Dow 30. There's a lot of
Sure.
stuff in here, Jeff, but all that matters is it's at all-time highs. So what's the takeaway here? Is that pretty much
The goal of the consumer average is not to pretend like these are all consumers. I'm not interested in the debate. I'm interested in companies that reflect what Americans are doing.
yep.
Yeah, it's and how the market is treating those stocks by extension, because that's why we want to go fishing. So this has companies like Apple in it. It's got Walmart. It's got McDonald's. I don't care what kind of phone people use. I just find it interesting that Apple kind of responded relatively benignly as a stock to a price hike on a thinner phone. And have you ever heard someone say, "My God, the thickness of my phone is driving me insane"? I mean, it's a weird solve for a problem no one has. But hey, there we are. That stock's behaving well. And this is at all-time highs, but again, the goal was to make something that reflects sort of what's happening in the economy, because for all the sentiment indicators, all the reasons to be upset, and God knows there are plenty, or at least the way the consumer is behaving is not one of them. It's people continue to spend on stuff that's good, not just everything. But we say the consumer is being particularly choosy this year, as though people are always buying out of style crap. That's not the case. It's a problem in the economy. Not when we're not buying everything, but when we're not buying stuff that's hot.
And here we are. We're showing the Mackie Consumer 30 against the discretionary index. And again, it's not about the debate about what is and isn't discretionary, or what is and isn't a consumer stock. It's more so about, like you said, what is the consumer doing? And Jeff, the consumer seems to be doing okay based on
I just
your
yeah.
tracking of them. So
This is the part in the Christmas movie where no one believes, Spencer. And I'm just like the janitor in the corner at this point, just mopping up, knowing St. Nick's going to pull things together by the end of the movie. But you got to set it up. And that's where we are right now. No one wants to believe in Christmas. The stocks are saying Christmas is going to be A-OK.
all right, let's do a little thing, a new segment here. It's called Hot or Not. Very simple. I'm going to pull up a chart. You're going to ask me, or I'm going to ask you. You're going to tell me, is this stock hot or not? Some of these will be pretty obvious. We'll start with Lululemon.
I, you know,
This is the opposite
yeah.
of denim.
Yeah, the opposite of denim. Yes, yes. It's you give it a little, and they take a little away from someplace. It had to. The denim's robust comeback had to come from somewhere, and it came from Lulu. This is the point on the not stocks is we're getting to the time of year where it's really hard to see a turnaround, either fundamentally or just as far as the stock's concerned. And what we saw, you can see the two gaps there of Lulu disappointing people. What we saw last quarter, just like we're seeing again this quarter, was people just woke up and they thought of new things to hate about the quarter, and they decided to sell the stock lower. And they did that for like 90 straight days. And then Lulu came out with earnings last week, and people are doing it again, where it's just like, that quarter really sucked. You'd think that would be priced in. It's never priced in. The stock just trades like it has an anvil around its neck. These are stocks that are just terrifying. As tempted as you might be on the value side, not is super not this time of year. You want to get out.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that gap all the way to the right. I was too busy looking at those gaps in the middle there. And we talked about this actually right before they reported last time around. Is how it gapped down twice and then came all the way back and then gapped down in June, right? And that was
yeah. There's a sad story of a loss of hope being told there in that chart. I mean, but they're not even trying to bounce it anymore. For the last two quarters, it's just been, the sad trombone. Again, it was in all the papers that they missed. My God, the Economist wrote about the demise of Lululemon. That stodgy piece. If they're running around writing about yoga tights, that it's gone kind of mainstream financial wonk. Everybody's picking on Lulu. People are still finding things that they don't like about it. That's kind of telling. You don't want to get in front of that. That's like, you don't make a lot of money taking the other side of these everyday slogs downward.
Sentiment's bad if you sue somebody and everyone snickers at your lawsuit. So Lulu sued Costco a few months ago and everyone was kind of snickered like, come on. Really?
Right.
Really?
It's which is exactly the kind of thing that it's so anecdotally just like, oh my God, this has to be a turning point of some sort. We had to sue them to stop them from selling our product for $12 because consumers would be confused. That's such a self-own. That's such a crazy thing to want to go to court and say our product is indistinguishable from one that sells for 85% less. Why are you doing that? They need a chief counsel of not being dumb and not just owning yourself but that's where they are right now. It'll come around.
So Lulu very much not hot. Moving on, Target, hot or not, Mr. Macke?
Another one where they wake up and they decide, God, I can't believe they hired an insider to be CEO and they sell the stock again. I kind of think the stores are looking a little bit better, maybe but this continues to be a stock with crappy technicals, crappy fundamentals, and a terrible narrative. And you can see it's right back to the freaking Liberation Day lows. And that's not good. You don't see a lot of those companies kind of hanging out there. So, new CEO needs to step up and he needs to whack some people. He needs to establish his presence with authority, or Target's going much lower. I wanted to buy the dip. I always want to buy the dip. Go Minnesota, but don't go to Target. See how I talk Minnesota just when we even talk. Geez.
It slips right out. Okay. Do we have anything that's hot here? Here's the gap. I'm assuming this is hot.
It looks hot to me. It's better than a poke in the eye with a big sharp stick. It's the company kind of reported, something that was okay. Like it was a mediocre quarter. You could see them trying to sell it off. They tried to take it down after hours, and that lasted all of about an hour and a half. Gap is a beneficiary of the denim cycle. The stock trades really, really well. Always finding excuses to go higher. It's not about just turning around right away. You just have a whole body of these retail stocks that got down to about 10 times earnings, which is super cheap for a mall stock that's not actually dying. And at this point, they're just kind of sold out. People are willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to exactly like American Eagle, they're going to sell denim this quarter, and that's going to work out pretty well for them. And so don't bet against these kind of commodity companies at 10 times earnings that are just making a move.
You just called Gap a commodity company?
Kinda, I mean, it's it's meaning like if people aren't liking what the Gap is, if people don't like blue jeans, it's tough for Gap to really move the needle. They
That's
sell a lot of blue jeans, and
yeah.
they stink at Athleta. But between Gap and Old Navy, that is just a denim heavy company, and it's the trends on their side right now, and so you get a couple extra points of multiple
Their
out of that.
product mix is like 45% blue jeans, 40% American flag shirts, and what's 15% other stuff, right?
Yeah, like disintegrating accessories, socks that
Yeah,
you wash
yeah.
once and they don't fit on your big toe afterwards. It's there. There's room for improvement. They're also going into makeup, which is
Okay.
hey, it's an idea. It's make way for a new idea, and that's just fine. But the point is again the reaction. It's not hugely great shakes. It just has a much better story, and now suddenly a better chart than Target, especially a fellow kind of aging senior, formerly hot store.
Okay. American Eagle. This was the big one from what, Thursday they reported last week.
It was
Uh,
yeah. There's a reason we follow earnings season because you get moves like this. They reported and it was just super not worse than expected.
I see what
I
you did
mean,
here with the chart. You are a clever man. I see what's going on here. Let's
geez, Spencer, let's keep this PG, okay? It's daytime. This is not Mackie after dark.
you
But
can't sneak anything by me.
we've had a nice bump. We've had a nice move, a nice shake. We've gone higher. And I mean, this stock is up 1.5 billion since they hired Sydney Sweeney,
Oh my God.
which is just bonkers. And you want to take the other side of it, but even with this move, even with this crazy lunatic move, you still end up with a company that they're not assuming huge earnings boost. They're not assuming huge margins. You have this real kind of sweet spot where companies don't have to make revenues turn directly into profits right now. American Eagle, by tradition, is really good at not turning revenues into profits. So the tariffs is as good an excuse as any. And they're going to sell a lot more denim than expected between Travis Kelce and Sydney Sweeney, the former football player who's now going to marry Taylor Swift. They're going to just move a lot of product. They're moving a lot of product. They're part of the American conversation for the first time in decades for like good reasons. And you got to give that a couple quarters. The shorts keep waiting for a downturn. It would make sense for the stock to consolidate, but it would make sense for Target to bounce. Another one of those things is happening.
Looking at denim more broadly, you have your own denim index, and we're not going to say what's in this, but it's safe to say it's an index of denim producing or denim companies or denim retailers, right? And gosh, Jeff, I'm kind of blown away at this. Like I said, I'm so out of the loop. I didn't realize denim wasn't hot, and now it's come full circle. It's all the way back. But what is behind this? It's not all
you know,
Sydney Sweeney.
No, it's entirely not all Sydney Sweeney. It's just that's what I mean about it. It just being this serendipitous moment at American Eagle, but it works for all the denim companies. We saw with Levi's. Yeah, it's. I like to talk about these kind of ancient fabrics that druids used to wear because when they become hot, you have a lot of companies that are super levered to this growth. Levi cannot beat earnings estimates unless the fashion is coming around. And for the last 5 years, everything's been athleisure and the worm is turned. And so that gives you a tailwind, which you can either have a really good economy or you can have a nice fashion tailwind. And right now, what denim has is just a fashion tailwind that I haven't seen the likes of in quite a while. People have been waiting years for this. The backlash against everything yoga tight is real, and it's going to last for a quarter or two.
Wow. Yeah, denim versus athleisure. I feel like this chart, if this chart was zoomed out, it would be going down and to the right for most of the last decade, right?
Yeah.
As athleisure just trounces denim. And I guess, like you said, that's not fashion. Fashion is a circle, right? It's cyclical. So I
Time is
guess,
a flat circle, as they
yeah.
say, which is also a Pilates move. But the trend is kind of clear on this. And in Consumerville, where I'm picking stocks and looking for stuff, you just want to be a little bit ahead. You just want to be a few weeks ahead of when the worm turns, because that's when you want to buy the stocks. If you're too far ahead, you're wrong. So it is denim timing on this has been kind of tricky. but it's finally taken place. We've talked about it for a few months, and as of today, it's in USA Today. It's you're reading articles and just the mainstream press about denim is so hot. It has nothing to do with genetics. All that was just a bunch of noise. It just comes down to it that these companies are going to sell more stuff at higher margins than we previously thought, and that's always bullish.
Is this like a trade war thing, or this is just a fashion thing?
It's a fashion thing.
Okay.
It's these aren't particularly. I'd like to say there's all kinds of American denim factories cranking this stuff out.
No.
Mom
Okay.
Pop America are weaving cotton again. It's actually not a great job. But we import most of the jeans, and so they do fine.
All right.
It's but they work their way around it.
All right. Bottom line here, denim is for real. I think that's the takeaway.
That's your takeaway. No mercy for the losers. This is not the time of year to call bottoms. Every stock that's been crushed all year, they have really this last earnings period to kind of prove otherwise. Maybe they can pull it out of the ashes in November, but give them some space.
Don't call bottoms if they're athleisure, but if the bottoms are made of denim, maybe call the bottom. You know what I mean?
Hey, I see what you did there. It's go back to the Sydney Sweeney quotes if you're gonna.
That's right.
Bring
Okay, Jeff, we're coming up on the furniture portion of the earnings season, including RH Restoration Hardware, which is probably one of, if not my favorite earnings report to either listen to and or read the transcript after the fact. I think almost every earnings report is pretty much the same. But what makes an earnings report different is the commentary from the executive team or the CEO. And in this case, the CEO of Restoration Hardware says wildly interesting things on his earnings calls. So I am a purveyor of these transcripts once a quarter. You obviously read them as well because you're interested in the space, and you're not in it for the show as much as I am. You're in it, for real reasons. But in any case, Restoration Hardware, they do report, right? Coming up,
they just announced it this week. It's yeah. So go figure.
Oh, are you saying I missed it?
No. They're going to report, but they didn't tell anyone that they were going to report. They just kind of kept it a secret because they're just in lunatic mountain up there in Marin, living that Marin lifestyle, living that Marin dream, and just being bonkers. I compare his conference calls to dead shows because you're either up for it, and if so, you got to go all. You got to listen to it, and you got to just be ready for like 6 hours of space where you're just going to be. Wow, Gary's just talking about movies. Is he really, is there a furniture point? No. Gary just saw Stripes last night and he would like to tell the conference call about his experience. That is completely on the table. Completely, it's totally something that can happen. But he'll also explain just, why interest rates are ungodly high and the furniture market's being strangled to death. And then he'll tell you about the private jets that they're buying for the company to have a leasing experience. And then he'll say with a straight face, we're a restaurant company now anyway, so who gives a shit about furniture? Everything's on the table. Anything can happen, but that's an amazing chart. He was the dude who he was remember Liberation Day. They reported on Liberation Day last time. He sat in his car and listened to the actual Liberation Day presser and then came into the conference call just a little bit late, which is not like him. Thankfully he stayed for 7 hours or something, but it's his Q&As are extended. But he came in and he's like, now I understand our stock's down a little bit. And there's like kind of corporate aside whispering. It was radio theater. He's like, it's down what? Holy shit. He just gave it was just his stock was down 20% because basically the president, while Gary was running from the parking lot to the conference call, had kind of just declared war on his industry, which he did again a couple of weeks ago by saying we're just going to investigate furniture tariffs. Restoration Hardware gets I don't know, 100% of their furniture from China, give or take it. At least that was the number a few quarters ago. I think they're better now. But it's a big deal to him. The stock is defying expectations. It's come off the OS lows impressively. I don't know what the market's like. I mean, you're a new dad. Are you looking for a $15,000 sectional?
I was in a store that sells such things over the weekend only because they're going out of business. And I wanted to see what deals I could get. But no, not typically. No, I'm not. Um, so
It's well, that's good because he's a furniture company now. But anyway, I'd recommend the Bella. It actually absorbs baby vomit and stains intentionally.
really,
It's a status symbol. It's a sign of wealth. Well, those people must be effective because they have a disposable $15,000 couch.
hey, I'll take it for 15. I don't know, but for 10, nah, maybe.
If there's a
Uh,
market for it, it works. He
yeah,
loves to squeeze shorts. It's been a super adventure for this stock. It during the COVID lows, he came out with a conference.
I
It was
remember.
his best show.
I
It was
remember
like
that.
the yeah. It's I could rhapsodize about it the way deadheads do about Boston '76. Jerry came out and he had a cold and it made it. But Gary came out and he's just like you can't climb luxury mountain on crutches, which obviously what he was saying is we're going to continue to spend into the weakness and we're going to grow ourselves a much larger brand. It proved to be amazing optimism because as soon as people figured out what the hell he was talking about, they took the stock from like 50 to 700, which it turns out was not a sustainable move. And they've tried to been kind of sort of finding their footing ever since. It's a trading stock. So is the next one we're going to talk about. But man, you get your windows on this bad boy. And when you do, it's things get kind of nutty.
All
Things get
right,
wild.
so we'll keep. This is Thursday afternoon, everyone. Thursday afternoon. Set your calendars for it. One of the, if not the most entertaining earnings call on Wall Street every quarter. Sticking with the furniture theme, Lovesac, the wildly expensive modular couches.
Right.
Right.
You
They
looking to
also
bury a
report.
speaker in your couch? Are you looking to get some blob hunks and put them in your sofa? Because that'll make them sound better. This is your place. You can make it's I've made like a $19,000 sectional just on their little app because it's something to do during the call. But
Uh-huh.
I have a thing in my heart for companies that don't go out of business despite kind of COVID and everybody waiting for them to die. Lovesac's sort of fallen into that category. They make again indefensibly expensive like bean bags and sectionals that you can make. Where they're basically if RH is for boomers and near boomers of age that have done insanely well. These are for new parents that just again are sitting with with 9 grand and a dying need to have speakers and the woofers of their couch seat. But
Or if you're next time you're in the mall and you're bored and your spouse or your kids or whomever want to keep shopping, let them go on their own. You just find the love sack and have fun for a half hour playing with the little model sets and just rearrange couches and just have fun just rearranging pieces on the board as if it's in your own fictional house, right?
or
And
just let your mind be blown that the place is actually called Love Sack. And
that too.
they ran with it. It made through the board meeting. And there's someone in their pajamas enjoying their sectional, thinking,
Yeah.
I'm going to put on it's Top Gun the remake and just listen to it vibrate through my couch sofa seats because that's just how I roll. That's what I do as a stay home
Yeah.
mom. I guess that person is.
All this being said, they are comfortable couches. So anyway, what's the
The
takeaway of the
really
stock?
comfortable couches. This is a
Yeah.
trade. Look at we got a nice little support line. We got a nice little let's set up our risk reward.
All right.
Just kind of sitting there right around the 20 level. I'm not going to play. It'll be interesting information about how they think the rate cuts are going to affect them. If they're able to stay in business, there's not a ton of tariff exposure here, and there's plenty of cynicism. So, if you wanted to take kind of a defined risk, what would happen if this went up 20% type of crazy ass bet? Hey, check out Lovesac or Restoration Hardware. Either one of them, there's plenty of people shooting against them for really, really good reasons. That's true of Macy's as well. And we saw that was about a 30% move higher last quarter on just garbage.
All right, Jeff, I'm sure you'll be sending out report cards later on in the week
Of course.
of maybe of RH or Lovesac or other reports that are on your mind. If you want to get all of Jeff's content, the best way is to join the Macke portfolio. The link to that is in the description on YouTube. If you want to get just his free stuff, his thoughts, his musings, and the occasional mind dump on a love sack or restoration hardware, then get his free email. Then the link to that is also in the description on YouTube.
We throw in some investing ideas as well, complimentary. Sometimes I just
Oh,
get too excited to keep
so
them secret.
sometimes he just can't even hold it in. He's got to just let it out. All right, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, and there, as always, will be more to discuss. So, Jeff, I will see you there.
Absolutely.
All right.